Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
And why their due process rights are being so flagrantly and horrifically violated.
Stupid.
What's up, everybody? From the nation, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you today. So, look, it's Tuesday. We got a pretty heavy show today. Yes, we are going to talk about what happened in Michigan with the MSU shooting and, mass shooting. So, we're going to start out with that fantastic news. Later on, we'll lighten it up, hopefully, a little bit. We have Trump and a recently finding out about a Trump Commission report on election fraud. I wonder what it said. We'll figure that out. Then we have Republicans in favor of child marriage. I'm not kidding. They're defending that in Wyoming. And then Nikki Haley jumps in to the 2024 presidential primary on the Republican side, and we'll look at it. Does she have a chance? I think we already know. All right, so with that said, we're going to start with the disastrous, terrible, heavy news. So I hope you're buckled up, because I am feeling a bit cynical, and I think you understand why. So let's do it. Oh, before I do, please like and share the stream. All right. We start with mass shootings. Yay. There's been another mass shooting in this country. It shouldn't be at all surprising to anyone who's been paying attention to America, but here we are. This time it happened at MSU in East Lansing. So let me give you the details. Michigan State Police have reported that 3 people were killed in that mass shooting that happened on Monday on campus. 5 others were injured. They're at local hospitals in critical condition. All of the victims happen to have been MSU students, according to officials. The suspect, of course, was 43-year-old Anthony Dwayne McRae, who was also killed at the scene from a self-inflicted gunshot. So now, university police, they're looking for a motive. Not just university police, but the investigators, police, they're all looking for a motive. So far, we don't have one. We don't know why it happened, but we do know the how, obviously. Now, he was not affiliated in any way with MSU. And so far, again, we have no motive. Again, we don't know why. We don't know why. But we do know that this is the 67th mass shooting that has happened this year. So now look, we're just into February. Okay, it's Valentine's Day, February 14th. There have been 67 mass shootings. That means that we have had more mass shootings in this country than we have had days in 2023. Huh. So, yeah.
USA. USA. USA.
What can I say? We're number one. We're number one. All right. So, look, what do we know about the shooter? Well, there's details coming out about the shooter. Police said in an investigation that McRae had a history of mental health issues, even though they did not elaborate. So I can't exactly point out any issue, but I do want to point out that just having a mental illness does not mean that you will become a mass shooter. So having a mental illness doesn't mean you're a mass shooter. Let's make that very, very clear, right? Now, he was apparently unemployed, socially isolated, lived with his parents until 2020. Of course, then he just lived with his father because he had lost his mother. According to his sister Melinda, he had often clashed with his parents while living there, and especially clashing with the mother. She died in 2020 of a stroke, and after that had happened, he completely went off the rails. Basically, he deteriorated in his mental state. Afterwards, she said that her brother before that was prone to transience and would go sporadically leave town, struggle to hold down jobs, go to different cities, and even live in shelters. So it seems like a very troubled individual. Then again, everybody, there's a lot of people that have undergone similar troubles. They don't go and grab guns and perform acts of mass violence. His father spoke to CNN on Tuesday morning and said that his son was bitter and angry, evil even, like angry to the point of being evil. And that he had stopped caring about himself, his life, his health, his appearance. Whenever he would suggest help, that he go see a doctor to get some help and assistance, he would refuse, get very angry, shut everyone out, and lock himself in his room. So now, did he have a history of violence? Not necessarily, no. Though he did have previous weapons charges. So now he had pleaded guilty back in 2019 of possession of a concealed weapon, a concealed firearm, without a permit. So he just didn't have a permit. Now he is sentenced to probation and was discharged from probation in May of 2021. And so, look, a lot of people online, specifically, have been right-wingers, have been pointing out that, like, oh, what a felony, why is he not in prison? Why is he not in prison? Well, the reason he's not in prison, is, for one, it's okay, he didn't have a permit. So who are the people that make sure that you don't have to have a permit to have a gun? Oh, right, Republicans. Yes, Republicans in Michigan have, when they were in power, loosened gun laws. Now, that said, it was still illegal in Michigan to possess a firearm without a permit. And so, yes, he got arrested for that, and he got put on probation. And then, when he was done with probation, there you go. He had a weapon. So now, it's funny because Michigan Democrats have been pushing for tighter gun control. Republicans constantly push back against that. And so there has been this, and by the way, Michigan had been, up until this last election cycle, been controlled mainly by Republicans, even with a Democratic governor. In this case, Whitmer. Republicans would still, hold majorities in the House and the Senate and be able to block legislation. And that's exactly what they did. After the Oxford shooting, you had Republicans blocking any gun control measures. So one of the bills that was blocked by Republicans was the safe storage package, which would require properly securing firearms to prevent accidental injury or death, where they could be accessible to minors. Okay, so now the motion was rejected and sent back to committee. There was also universal background checks on all gun sales, allowing local governments to ban guns on property they own or lease, and prohibiting selling or possessing a magazine capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition. With some exceptions, all of those bills introduced in 2021, well, were all shut down. That's it. So you had that. And again, you also had Republicans that continued to, try to prevent anything from being passed in relation to gun violence. Now, that said, is there any one panacea to every single shooting? No, not necessarily. Like, you can't just say, like, oh, this particular law would have prevented this particular gun violence, and therefore you can't do anything. That's pretty ridiculous logic. Obviously, we know that not all gun control laws are going to stop all gun crimes. But if you can stop the vast majority of them, then I think you can call that a win. But apparently they do not feel the same way. And I'm talking about Republicans. So that's it. Okay. Look, there's more details, by the way. Now, McRae said that his son had a gun. Police had taken it away. And then he had somehow obtained another weapon. I don't know if it was legally or illegally. But he kept it in his room and denied to his father that he had it. And so that's what we know so far. So, look, without any more information about, motive or anything like that, it just feels random and senseless. Like somebody who needed help but instead lashed out with a weapon. Got his hands on a gun. Now, police did find something else. There was a note in his pocket that showed that he was planning on doing more shootings, in this case going to New Jersey and targeting 2 different schools, 2 Ewing public schools specifically. Apparently he had local ties to that township, and so maybe that might be more personal. Maybe that was his overall goal. But again, it's a lot of speculation. But like I said, mass shootings, more senseless death, and really, I think we're all unfortunately used to it. We're all pretty desensitized to it. At least, when you're in the media, you cover this all the time. You hear all this news all the time. And mainly, the biggest thing that is the most frustrating and sad about the entire situation is the fact that we'll do nothing about it. So, look, we as a country are going to do nothing. The right says there's not enough guns. We need more guns. We need loosen gun laws. And of course, they're already pointing out that, it's a black man. Black men. You know how violent they are. Why weren't they in prison? Weak prosecutors. Oh, that's what it is. George Soros, Marxism. And so you already see it in that dog whistling, right? Yeah, he's an African-American man. That has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Honestly, it's immaterial in this case. But they'll still make it an issue. Look, the same thing is that they'll talk about mental health later on. But then we'll do nothing about ensuring that everybody has mental health. They'll propose hardening schools, which, hasn't been shown to be effective at all. And of course, the left is calling for gun control, which will not pass. Now, that said, the Biden administration is sending $231 million. Yes, that's million to states to enact things like red flag laws in places that have been enacted. But when it comes to anything like a national, gun control sort of, policy position, nothing is going to get through Congress. So there will not be a gun control package that will get through Congress. And at this point, with Republicans in control of the House and a very slim majority of Democrats in the Senate, we will see absolutely no action. Nothing. So there will either be no bill in Congress, nothing proposed on a national level, or if there somehow is one, it will fail. And then mainstream media, we will move on. Look, I hate to be pessimistic, right? But at this point, I'm being a realist. We're at this point in this country where we are paralyzed on the issue of guns. Now, look, I think a lot of it has to do with money in politics. As long as gun manufacturers and lobbying groups are allowed to spend unlimited amounts of money buying off politicians, nothing's going to get done. But of course, there's that angle, and then there's gun culture, where you have a few people who are fanatics that have made it part of their identity as guns, as people who enjoy guns, I should say. I don't know, maybe their pronouns are guns. Maybe that's the only pronoun that right-wingers want, is to identify as gun. Oh, God, here I am giving them ideas. But look, no, it has become, part of their identity to oppose anything, even as 90% of the country is like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Universal background check, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, limiting magazine size, blah, that makes sense. But you have this minority that then, votes very, very regularly in Republican primaries and is very, very loud. And then you have the money, you have gun manufacturers, and you have groups like the NRA, lobbyists, that will bribe our politicians to make sure that they do nothing. And that's unfortunately what will continue to happen. They will do nothing. Is what it is. Yes, but they won't fund mental health. Yeah. Yeah. Moving on. We've got some anger. Some probably truly believe that pronouns are a recent invention. Yep. Well, did you see the Roseanne special? My pronouns are kiss my ass. Jesus. Okay. Following what is the 67th mass shooting so far this year, that has left 3 dead and 5 injured on Monday in Michigan, a Democratic lawmaker from the state expressed some outrage on Twitter. So this is Representative Ranjiv Puri, who tweeted this. Quote, "Today we begin to collectively heal from the horrific events which transpired. Tomorrow we work. My official statement regarding the Michigan State University shooting is below. Fuck your thoughts and prayers. What happened in East Lansing is unfortunately far too common. Going to school in America, whether it's preschool or college, means risking your life every day to the threat of mass shootings. Yet, all we have offered up are empty solutions, traumatizing active shooter drills, and bulletproof backpacks. We do not need to live like this. The United States is the only country where this happens. Thoughts and prayers, without action and change, are meaningless." So, that's, again, Ranjiv Puri. Then you have other Democratic politicians in Michigan that are weighing in. In fact, here is Governor Gretchen Whitmer in her words. And look, you're basically going to see that this is a theme here.
This is a uniquely American problem. Today is the 5th anniversary of the Parkland shooting. We're mere weeks past the Lunar New Year shooting at a dance hall, and a few months past a shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde. And looking back at a year marked by shootings at grocery stores, parades, and so many other ordinary, everyday situations, we cannot keep living like this. Our children are scared to go to school. People feel unsafe in their houses of worship or local stores. Too many of us scan rooms for exits when we enter them. And many of us have gone through the grim exercise of figuring out who our last call would be to. Last night, a lot of kids on this campus made those calls. They worried for their lives and for their friends, for their fellow Spartans. Parents across Michigan were on pins and needles, calling their kids to tell them that they love them. As parents, we tell our kids, it's going to be okay. We say that all the time. But the truth is, words are not good enough. We must act, and we will.
Look, on that last part, we will act. Yes, Democrats in Michigan have been, for the last couple of years, putting forward gun control proposals, things like universal background checks, things that are generally should not be controversial. Okay, things that most people, even gun owners, agree with. That said, up until now, or I should say until the last election, Republicans have controlled both of the chambers, the lower chambers of Michigan, of Congress in Michigan. And so they have blocked every single gun control measure that had come up for a vote. So maybe this will change. I don't know. I'm not sure. But they are attempting to try. That said, President Biden has also pledged $231 million to states to do things like red flag laws. And it's called on Congress to do something. Of course, Congress is not going to do something because Congress is completely bought and paid for by gun manufacturers, at least Republicans are, and groups like the NRA. So nothing will happen there. Okay. So, but getting back to the point where she says that this is a uniquely American problem. Correct. Absolutely correct. And again, all of these politicians are, and the people that say this are 100% right. Yes, we've been saying this for a long time. It's true. We're the only country that has this problem. And there are other countries that have done things to solve that problem, to prevent that problem, that we refuse to do. Now, I've got another video here. This is Representative Alyssa Slotkin. Here's what she had to say.
I cannot believe that I am here again doing this 15 months later. And I am filled with rage that we have to have another press conference to talk about our children being killed in their schools. And I would say that you either care about protecting kids or you don't. You either care about having an open and honest conversation about what is going on in our society or you don't. But please don't tell me you care about the safety of children if you're not willing to have a conversation about keeping them safe in a place that should be a sanctuary.
All right, so look, thoughts and prayers, getting back to the original tweet here. It's nothing but performative. That's all it is. Performative gestures, right? Oh, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. We're not actually going to do anything, but we're going to give you thoughts and prayers. Well, those performative gestures do absolutely nothing. They mean nothing. They will change nothing. And that's the whole point. They don't want to change anything. Now, look, I feel like most politicians, at least on a federal level, all they do is performative actions. So that said, I do think that the pain is real. At least, for some of these people that have been speaking out on this issue. Yes. I think on a lot of other issues, there is performative action. There is lip service. But I generally do believe that Democrats do care about, stopping the murder of children in their schools. It's not like something like, oh no, I believe in raising the wages. Oh yes, and doing all that. Okay, but anyway, performative actions, right? That said, right-wing politicians, yeah, performative actions. And then, of course, what happens is they do this, and then they, pretty much do nothing afterwards, and then it just dies down, and then we as a country move on into the next mass shooting, and then we're all outraged. We're stuck in this perpetual cycle, is what I'm saying. And as I said before, we're the only country that has to deal with this. Why is that? Again, it's because of corruption, greed, lobbying, and gun culture. Okay. So now that said, I looked at some of the responses to, this tweet and to the video from Alyssa Slotkin. And of course, what did I see? Right-wingers. conservatives coming out and putting out the same statements. Gun-free zones. Oh, just see the schools, they're gun-free zones. That's what they're going on. That's what's going on. See, if you didn't have gun-free zones, if everybody had guns, then the good guy with the gun would have taken out the bad guy with the gun. Oh, okay, but there's not really any evidence that gun-free zones increase the likelihood of mass shootings. And look, there are studies here. Now, first, let me get to the Rand Corporation, who did an analysis, okay, and found, actually, interestingly enough, that there wasn't enough evidence to conclude that gun-free zones had any effect on violent crime whatsoever, whether positive or negative. Now, the reason is there's not enough study that's been done. In fact, I do believe that Congress is still not allowed to go and do actual, like, congressional studies on gun violence. Or at least they haven't been. And so, yes, that would be why there is no analysis here. That's why there is an inconclusive analysis, okay, on violent crime. Now, that said, that doesn't mean there hasn't been independent studies. And let me give you the details on those. Back in 2016, a study by researchers from the University of Massachusetts, Boston, Johns Hopkins, Bloomberg School of Public Health, and Stanford University found that the vast majority of high-casualty mass shootings occurred in places where guns are allowed or not explicitly banned. So now they found that between 1966 and June 2016, only 12% of U.S. mass shootings involving 6 or more victims occurred in a gun-free zone, and only 5% occurred where civilian gun possession was prohibited. So now you might think, okay, we have different definitions of what a mass shooting is. So that one was 6, right? There are others that looked at 4, and there are other studies that looked at every single victim as one mass shooting, right? So we'll get to that in a minute, right? Now, another study of U.S. mass shootings involving 4 or more fatalities between 2009 and 2015 found that only 13% occurred in a gun-free zone. Okay. Now, the analysis, however, that's most cited by Republicans came from John Lott. John Lott claimed that 98% of mass shootings happened in gun-free zones. So now, again, this comes down to what is a mass shooting? How many victims are in a mass shooting, right? And so now Lott counted each individual mass shooting death as an entire separate incident. Oh, okay. Now, Lott, after being pointed out, corrected that and still made a new claim that 94% of mass shootings occurred in gun-free zones. Now, he had misclassified certain shootings, played fast and loose, again, with what was defined as a mass shooting, and also left out some other mass shootings that had happened in areas that were not gun-free zones. So, nonetheless, that Lott study continues to be quoted by by members of the right wing, and to say, oh, gun-free zone's bad, you gotta get rid of the gun-free zones, you gotta have all guns. Every zone is a gun-full zone. Arm everyone at all times. Because the good guy with the gun, obviously. Well, okay, what do the studies say about the good guy with the gun? Well, one study says, successful civilian uses of guns to stop mass shootings were incredibly rare, and about as common as armed civilians being shot while attempting to respond to mass shooting incidents. I also found that no evidence finds right to carry laws reduced mass shootings or the number of shooting victims. So, good guy with a gun, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. Yeah, there are instances that you could cherry pick out where there is an armed person that happens to, respond at the right time in the right place. It's also statistically rare. And it's, and it happens just as often as somebody who was mistaken for a perpetrator by police and then shot by police. Because how do they know? This is why law enforcement agencies, and again, if you're somebody who claims to be very pro-police, like the right wing, I guess, claim to be, well then you would listen to the law enforcement officers that say, whatever you do, like, yeah, maybe we should not have so many people with guns, you know, going around and trying to basically do our job for us. We don't know if you're a perpetrator or not. We see somebody with a gun, we're going to shoot them. Again, that's the issues with the good guy with the gun. And so, look, the problem here is there are people who think that they're John McClane, right? Who think they're going to come in, they're going to play the hero, they're going to save the day. It's a great fantasy, but that's all. It's a fantasy. It's not real. More often than not, you're going to end up either getting shot yourself and then allow someone else who is a perpetrator or a mass shooter to then come and collect your gun and then use it against someone else. Or you were going to get shot by police, responding police officers, okay? Or, you know, you're going to accidentally take out a civilian. That's generally what happens. So it's an unfortunate reality here. And look, at the end of the day, we know what works. We've seen what other countries have done, but we refuse to do it. In fact, the United States continues to attempt to do the opposite of what every other country that does not have mass shootings on the scale and level and frequency of the United States. And I've explained before why that's the case. Gun culture, lobbying, right? Corruption in Congress. Again, the people who are, you know, so as gung-ho about trying to prevent any sort of gun legislation are a very, very vocal minority that has also been fed nonstop propaganda about, you know, crime statistics or, you know, been basically scared, lulled into a sense of just perpetual fear by, oh, they're coming for you, they're coming to get you, the only thing that can protect you is your gun. Police aren't going to come save you, they're not going to do this. And by the way, there's a certain, at this point, there's a certain amount of truth to that, but it's because police more protect property than anything at this point. Nonetheless, everyone has been told, get a gun, get more guns. It's the only way to protect yourself is to shoot everything else. And you wonder why there's a gun violence problem in this country. That's part of it. And by the way, while this all happens, while there are more and more gun sales, guess who that benefits? Corrupt politicians, media, specifically right-wing media, which, by the way, gets a lot of attention because they focus endlessly on crime and violence and, you know, that kind of reporting, as well as gun manufacturers that cash in when people go and buy guns. That's what's going on. So when they point out and say that it's a uniquely American problem, yeah, because no other country has some amount of legalized corruption that we have. At least no other modern industrial country like we are has this problem, has legalized corruption to this degree. And as also you could talk about the individualistic culture as well, how you are the only person that you can rely on, you and your trusty gun. You could go into that. You can go into the ravages of our economic system, which makes everyone, you know, which of course increases the likelihood of crime because people can't get by. There's all sorts of different factors that, you know, that are uniquely American, again, that lead into this problem. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is
USA, USA, USA.
we know what works, we just refuse to do it. Okay. Look, I know that's depressing. It's a depressing show. It's a depressing note, but I've got to, I gotta be real with y'all. Gun culture seemed to shift in overdrive around the time the assault weapons ban was conveniently allowed to expire. Can't give in to defeatism. It can be changed. Oh, it can be changed. I don't say that it won't. That it can't be. I'm just saying that as things continue to go with the establishment the way that it is, with politics not, with everything just being the same, it ain't gonna change. Okay. Anyway. Let's move on. Let's try to lighten it up. A little bit.
Can't let that happen.
A new report out shows that former President Donald Trump knew that there was no election fraud, but continued to lie about it anyway. Yeah, because of course. Now, this comes from the Washington Post, who reported that Trump had actually hired a research firm right after the election to investigate election fraud. Now, that firm, unsurprisingly, found a total of nothing. Just a whole lot of nothing. Nothing at all.
My.
Yeah. Big surprise, right? So now when they told Donald Trump about this, he was like, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. We had massive fraud, the greatest theft ever. There's no way Joe Biden had won. And so look, he went and suppressed it because it didn't say what he wanted it to say. So now more details about this. The Berkeley Research Group was hired by the former president in his campaign, and they had gathered a team, the best team, the greatest team, of about a half dozen people to look into this alleged voter fraud and irregularities in 6 states. The researchers say that they had looked at everything. One source told the Post, quote, literally anything you could think of. Voter turnout anomalies, date of birth anomalies, whether dead people voted. If there was anything under the sun that could be thought of, they looked at it. They did. And look, by the way, they did find anomalies. Sure. Now, they said that, though, those anomalies existed on both sides. Quote, just like any election, there are always errors, omissions, and irregularities. But it was nowhere near close enough to what they wanted to prove. And it actually went in both directions. Fun. So, as I said before, when they briefed Trump, as well as his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and others on a conference call, on the last days of 2020, the call reportedly became contentious. He no likey. And by the way, neither did Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy also reportedly said, no, I don't believe it. Trump won. You're lying. So, at the end of the day, the Trump administration, the campaign buries the report, and we find out about it just, that's why we find out about it just recently. And so, look, he buries the report and then goes out and lies and tells people, incites people to do January 6th to gather at the Capitol, which led, of course, to the riot and insurrection. And to this day, he continues to cry about it while putting the donor money in his pocket. So what do I mean by that? Well, look, these two things are related, right? So for one, he already knew. Of course he already knew. There was no voter fraud. There was no election fraud. Joe Biden won legitimately. Okay. I know that seems to be a radical statement whenever you're talking to a Republican who's like, no, 60 court cases, dude. His own team found nothing. Cyber ninjas found nothing. Come on. When will you accept it? I know. When it comes to them,
Can't let that happen.
nope. No, can't accept it. Can't accept it. But like, the thing is that there's a reason that Donald Trump continued to perpetuate that lie. For one, he wanted to be put back in power. Of course, he has authoritarian tendencies. The other reason is, as you're about to see, from the day he left office through the end of last year, the former president's various political committees actually spent $905,570 at Trump properties. This is according to a HuffPost analysis of new Federal Election Commission filings. Oh, so that's near $1 million spent at his properties. That goes into Donald Trump's pocket, of course. So now he raised that money to challenge the election. We're gonna expose Joe Biden's fraudulent election, and I'm going to be reinstated. I'm going to be put back into power, into my rightful place as your president of the United States. No. What happened is, again, he just raised his money, lied his ass off. Oh, he even said he was going to fund, two Georgia Senate races, which he did not. And he barely spent any money supporting any other Republican candidates during the last midterm. He raised all this money and instead spent it on his own properties. That's it. I mean, look, that's the reason. That's the reason. And by the way, yes, it's very important to point out that he had got that report prior to January 6th. So it's not like he, did the rally, and then afterwards it's like, oh, golly gee, what do you know? I didn't know. Oh, that it turns out my own team did not find any electorate. No, he knew beforehand. And he disregarded it and said, I don't care. We're going to go to the Capitol anyway. So that's, again, very important here. Look, as far as screwing over his own voters and lying to them, of course, look, he doesn't care. They're marks. That's all they are to him. Useful idiots. This is nothing more than a giant grift. Whether to keep him into power to avoid any sort of accountability, which I'm even cynical that there is going to be any accountability coming for Donald Trump anyway in these investigations. But also to siphon as much money as possible that he can from people. And again, that's something that Donald Trump has always done. He has always been a gigantic grifter, siphoning money anywhere that he can get it. Now, that's not somebody... I don't know. Maybe I do hear the argument that's like, oh, no, say no billionaires will do that. Are you sure? How do people get to be billionaires? When they screw over people. Now, of course, other billionaires have done it in, I guess, more to the rich, socially acceptable ways. Although there is really no acceptable way. But among those elite circles, you see, I created... a vulture capital business, and of course, I acquired it, I liquidated all the assets, and I fired everyone. And before loading, of course, a whole bunch of debt onto this company, and, that's how I got incredibly wealthy, even more wealthy. And that's not what Trump does. He does it in less sophisticated ways. But it's still, at the same time, ripping people off and destroying people's livelihoods. It's just in a different way. But again, that's what he does. Rips people off. And whether or not he's a billionaire, and I don't believe he is because he's such a numbskull, an idiot. Not exactly the smartest person.
You idiot.
He's just bad at business. Aside from all of that, he's just bad at business. But the good thing he is, the thing he is good at, is doing cons and robbing people, his own supporters. And so that's all it is, and it's all it's ever been. That's who he is. Okay. Let's move on. Let's go to, Republicans defending child marriage. Great. Some Republicans in Wyoming are opposing a bill to stop children from getting married. Yeah, you heard that right. They're trying to allow child marriage to continue in Wyoming. So now, according to reports, the Wyoming Republican Party is looking to kill the bill working its way through the state legislature, proposing to raise the state's legal marriage age to 16. So they didn't have a minimum age. Now, the bill was actually put forward by a Republican, and so in that respect, it is bipartisan, right? There is bipartisan support, but then you also have members of the Wyoming Republican Party that are saying, no, we have to allow children to get married. Now, I'll get to the arguments in detail, but first, let's get to more of the other details. The bill, which already passed the Republican-controlled Wyoming House of Representatives on a 36-25 vote last month, proposes banning state residents from marrying anyone under the age of 16, while requiring anyone under the age of 18 seeking to get married to receive written consent from their parents under the eye of a competent witness. Currently, Wyoming is it's one of just 8 states in the country, including California, Michigan, sad, Mississippi, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Washington, and West Virginia, without a minimum age requirement for marriage. And it currently ranks among the top 10 states, coincidentally, in the country for child marriages. Maybe not coincidentally. This is according to a 2021 study by the advocacy group Unchained at Last. So now, the number of marriages, and it's insane to think that children are getting married. Just insane in this day and age. Now, the number of child marriages, thankfully, has been in free fall over the last few decades. But just 7 states to date have voted to ban it entirely. Compare that to the Philippines, that just banned it nationwide. Other states like Tennessee, and I've reported on this before, actually went to go in the opposite direction. Republicans were actually seeking to eliminate any limits on marriage entirely until public outrage, of course, forced them to reverse course. Because it wasn't a good look. Let's just say that. Now, according to Unchained at Last, an anti-child marriage advocacy group, approximately 97% of child marriages in Wyoming are to girls aged 16 and 17. So now, funny enough, this organization is like, this bill sucks, actually. But wait. Now, they said that they don't like it because it actually doesn't do anything. So think about this. They're arguing that it's basically the minimum that you could do, right? In fact, Frady Reese, founder of Unchained at Last and a forced marriage survivor, told Newsweek, quote, "It's really great the legislators want to protect 3% of those who are impacted by child marriage. But to us, if you're failing to protect the 97% of the people you're claiming to protect, you don't really have the right to get to brag about that. To me, it's just the bill. It's not even worth the paper that it's printed on at that point." Okay, so look, is that a fair point? Yeah, I actually could definitely see the argument that the bill is too weak and that it should be stronger. But that's not why Republicans are against it. Make no mistake. The Republican argument is, no, we like the child marriage. Because religion. In fact, in a letter from the Wyoming Republican Party, they'd argued that preventing children under 16 from marrying denies the fundamental purpose of marriage. Wait, what? What do you mean? What do you mean the fundamental purpose of marriage? Robbing teen parents from the ability to remain together under one roof for any children they might bear together. There's nothing preventing people from living with each other and co-parenting. It makes no sense. Now, the Post read, since young men and women may be physically capable of begetting and bearing children prior to the age of 16, marriage must remain open for them for the sake of the children. Really? Really? Oh, you're saying, we must allow child marriage for the sake of the children. What? They continue by saying, the sad fact that physical maturity often does not match emotional and intellectual maturity is an indictment of our modern educational system. That is a problem that should be addressed, but we should not use it as an excuse to instantiate bad law. What about prevention? What about, proper sex education, as well as proper usage, instruction, and access to birth control measures if they do end up having sex? Not what they're doing now in saying, oh, no, we're not going to do any of that stuff. What we're going to do is we're just going to, if the kid gets pregnant, we're just going to force them to get married. I mean, this whole thing is ridiculous. So, look, the right wing basically is wanting to pressure teen girls who get pregnant into getting married. And oftentimes, it's not to people of their same age. Oftentimes, it's to people who are who are older. They're trying to protect older men who prey on teen girls. That's what it is. Look, according to Unchained at Last, in the U.S., approximately 60,000 marriages since 2000 have occurred at spousal age differences that could have been considered a sex crime. Allowing a marriage license to become a sort of get-out-of-jail-free card for a would-be rapist, particularly if they impregnate the victim. And that's what it is. Instead of putting a rapist in prison, they can just, no. We'll just force them to get married so they can co-parent that child that we're forcing them to have. Oh, that's it. Oh, right. And by the way, again, there's a lot of pressure involved when it is, in places where this is happening, where this is legal. Yeah, of course you have people who are religious parents that are like, oh, no, you have to get married. God says. I mean, you can't get an abortion. You can't do this. You couldn't have taken birth control. We're not going to teach you. We're going to teach you abstinence only. Oh, well, look, you accidentally you got pregnant. What are you going to do? I guess you're just going to have to get married, have that baby. And it doesn't matter if, that person who, you had sex with is 30 or 26 or whatever, and you're 16, doesn't matter. You're going to have to get married because that's what Jesus says. No. Wow. No. This is their family values, everyone. We really want to protect them teen girls. No, you don't. And it's funny because, look, it's not funny, actually. But in Wyoming, approximately 20 child marriages take place in the state each year, with occasionally disparate age differences. In fact, during a hearing on the bill, the Deputy State Register of Vital Statistics told lawmakers that they had seen one case where a 32-year-old man married a 16-year-old girl in Wyoming. The Casper Star Tribune reported that there have been several instances of 14-year-olds being married in the state. Understand that this is what's going to happen. This is what they're trying to protect. Old men marrying young girls. That's what it is. That's what happens in a lot of religions and a lot of traditional types of societies. And I've shown you other instances, by the way, of conservatives. People like Matt Walsh going out there and say teen girls as young as 16, they're very fertile. They should be married. They should be able to have kids, have families at that young age because they're more fertile. Children. Now, these are the same people that are calling LGBTQ people groomers, accusing them of being a groomer. Think about that. Think about this. This is every accusation is a confession. And I'm not saying it's all Republicans, or I should say not all Republicans. You don't see any Democrats in favor of keeping child marriage. Look, if any party has a problem with groomers, it would be the Republican Party. So you might want to clean house there. Unless, of course, you happen to agree with them. Okay. Frustrating. All right. Let's talk about Nikki Haley. On Tuesday, Republican Nikki Haley formally announced her candidacy for president. She is the second person to announce. She is going after Donald Trump. And really, I honestly don't care. I don't think it's going to get very far. That said, some reaction from MAGA-aligned folks is interesting. In fact, we're going to start out with former Trump advisor Steve Cortes writing this, quote, Haley, the political weather vane, shows her true colors. Ooh, already, we're having fun. She's trying to impress the corporations and oligarchs. Former Boeing board member can't change her stripes. Oh, interesting. That is an interesting perspective here. I didn't see them going the oligarchs and corporations route, which is funny because, again, that's who pretty much all of the Republican Party serves. So, all right. But again, interesting. They're doing the populism run. Okay. Fun. Now, Fox News' Tucker Carlson had earlier said on his show this month, it wasn't that long ago that Nikki Haley explained immigrants are more patriotic than you are. She also endorsed the BLM riots. She said George Floyd's death needs to be painful for everyone. He even invited, by the way, Nikki Haley's former aide, Justin Evans, who said that Haley would drop out before the first caucus is held. Quote, she just walks away when times get tough. She's never finished a job. Damn. Look, this is going to get brutal. And so, I mean, look, what you have, by the way, Tucker Carlson doing is riling up the racists, the xenophobes, the people who are the Trump MAGA base, to be like, oh, look at Nikki Haley. She's not only brown, but look, she's an immigrant and she likes immigrants. She's not a real American. Oh yeah, they're just gonna rip her apart. Already. Now Stuart Stevens, a former political consultant. Oh, nice. Wrote an opinion piece for the New York Times claiming that Haley had threw away her unlimited potential. So no, this is actually not coming from the MAGA crowd. This is coming from something who is, a perspective that is different here, saying that she is the first woman governor of South Carolina, the first Indian American ever elected to statewide office, and the youngest governor in the country. She had that potential, but then threw it away to do what? To get more power, of course. He wrote, I look at Ms. Haley now. She prepares to launch her own presidential campaign. With sadness tinged with regret for what could have been. But I'm not a bit surprised. Her rise and fall only highlights what many of us already knew. Mr. Trump didn't change the Republican Party, he revealed it. Ms. Haley, for all her talents, embodies the moral failure of the party and its drive to win at any cost. A drive so ruthless and insistent that has transformed the GOP into an autocratic movement. It's not that she has changed positions to suit the political moment, or even that she has abandoned beliefs she once claimed to be deeply held. It's that the 2023 version of Ms. Haley is actively working against the core values that the 2016 Ms. Haley would have held to be the very foundation of her public life. Well, that's assuming that she had values to begin with. She does not. Her only value, really, that values that she holds, is to amass power. And look, I can say that that is true for the vast majority of politicians. Yes, they want power. They want to gain elected office. That's really what it comes down to. Now, in her case, she did a lot of back and forth, right? A lot of flip-flopping. But that's not exactly why she has no chance in the Republican primary. The big reason that she doesn't have a chance is, well, number one, she's a woman. Let's be honest. You think Republicans are going to allow a woman to be president? No. Vice president, maybe. But president? No, they will not. Much less an immigrant woman, by the way. And I say that not just because, obviously sexist and racist Republicans without any evidence. No. It's from their own words. A December 2022 USA Today poll found that a lot of Republicans, about 50%, said the ideal president has to be a male. They're not going to vote for a woman. I don't even know if they'd vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene to be president. And look, Marjorie Taylor Greene, her thing, along with Lauren Boebert, are like, no, we reject feminism. We actually are the weaker, lesser sex. That is something that Boebert has said before. Or was it Greene? Both of them, again, subscribe to that ideology of we are weaker than men, and so obviously shouldn't be in leadership positions, which is funny because what are they doing in Congress then and not making sandwiches? That's their words. That's just following their logic. So look, there's the inherent misogyny and sexism among the right, which has been just ramped up over the last few years. Maybe had it been prior to 2016, there might have been a shot. Maybe. But at this point, no. And by the way, the other reason it's related to this is she wouldn't be able to stand up to Trump. And it's, again, not because she is a woman and that makes her inherently weak. No. It's because rhetorically, she's not going to be able to out-Trump Trump. She personally has too many contradictions about herself. She has tried to have it both ways, sometimes lightly tweaking Trump and then going back and going, oh, no, not going to do that. No. But I will slightly tweak Trump here and then I'll go back, poke my head out, and then go back. And so there's no consistency there. Okay? And so she's been both pro-Trump, anti-Trump, flip-flopping on pretty much everything. And that does not look good. She is a political weather vane. But really what that does hide is the fact that she is a very standard politician and that she's going to work for the donors. That's it. Again, aside from the rampant misogyny in the right wing, that's one of the things that Republicans despise, is that she is part of the establishment and she appears to have no core values. That's it. They don't trust her. And now, look, according to polling, by the way, and this was taken in January, Nikki Haley only got about 4% of the vote. Now, there's been talk about her jumping into the race for some time now. So it's not like this is a surprise. That same poll, Donald Trump gets 44%, Ron DeSantis gets 32. So now another issue comes up, and that's South Carolina, right? So now Tim Scott, another popular right-wing South Carolina senator, or I'm sorry, congressman, going to jump in the race. At least very likely. So they're both going to rip each other apart. They're all going to go for the anti-Trump vote. I'm very, very, I think they're both going to go for the establishment because that's where the money is. That's where the party seems to be heading. That's why I think Ron DeSantis is getting a massive, massive push by the establishment, by the big money like the Murdochs, by a lot of the big donors, even the Koch brother, the remaining Koch brother Koch organization is looking to open that war chest. They're going to find somebody, and Nikki Haley's hoping she gets some of that money. So when that happens, again, it's going to divide the already, low amount of anti-Trump votes that there are. Because you're not going to shake those people who are on the Trump train, if you call it, right? So now, is Trump worried about this? Well, let's go to a statement. Even though Nikki Haley said, "I would never run against my president. He was a great president, the best president in my lifetime. I told her she should follow her heart and do what she wants to do. I wish her luck." He's not afraid of her at all. No, not afraid of her at all. That is a statement of, you want to jump in? Okay. All right. All that's going to do is help me. Now, that said, Taylor Buttigieg, head of Make America Great Again, Inc., super PAC aligned with Trump, said that she was, quote, a career politician whose only fulfilled commitment is to herself. Look, he wants her in there because it helps his position. That's it. It's the anti-Trump people that are going to rip themselves apart, and that's only going to help Trump in the polls. That's what he wants. And so, yeah, unless there's somebody who is Trumpier than Trump, who is able to be charismatic and, of course, talk about the same policies and excite the base the same way that Trump is, Trump's got a very, very good chance of becoming the Republican nominee. And, that's just the way that I see it. Okay. I am massively out of time. That story went super long. All right, so if you haven't already, please like and share the stream. We're very, very low on the likes today, only 114. What's going on here? Y'all. I want Trump to attack her for not supporting the Confederacy enough. True. DeSantis, he could pull votes away from Trump. He's not, though. And that's for reasons that I've talked about earlier in another segment yesterday. He doesn't have the balls to punch back. He's already showing himself to be weak. And that's the last thing that you want to show yourself as to the Republican base, because guess what? They want somebody who's strong. Let's see. Let's go to hold. Sbloom85. Oh, sorry, that was yesterday. For Twitch. Let's see. We will do a raid. Let's see. We'll go to super chats here. Jason Ray, again, points out he got the report prior to 1/6. Very important. Also, why would there be a teen pregnancy requiring marriage? Didn't the right wing banning abortion and abstinence training solve that issue? Good point. Very good point. Also, pointing out Payush Jindal. I should have been a woman. Ah, I remember Bobby Jindal. I remember. Long ago. So long ago. Wow.
My.
Yeah. All right. Michael Norris says, as a teacher, Republicans need to stop defunding education. They clearly need. Their constant declaration of my pronouns are, ironically, only have one pronoun. Yeah. Good luck telling them that. The education is liberal indoctrination. That's all it is. Okay. All right. Well, good luck with that. So, yeah. What was it? I think recently there was another red state that was ordered to reinstate education funding because, and this had happened to Kansas before, where their funding for education was so low it broke the Constitution. They were required to put money back into education because they had stripped so much out of it. So yeah, I would love for them to do so, but sometimes you can educate people as much as you want, but if they have these beliefs, that cognitive dissonance, and they reject actual information and facts, there's not a whole lot you can do. But, in a way that does show that you have a lot of, let's just say, you're not as cynical as I am. Optimistic. Okay. Anyway, thank you all. I really appreciate you. Please like and share the stream. Become a member, support us, all that wonderful stuff. We'll see you back here tomorrow for a great Wednesday show. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, Nation.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Sexual anarchy.
The Republican Party's racist.
Can't let that happen.
Obama.
Jewish space lasers.
Woke mob.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
USA. USA. USA.